I came home to find my neighbor dead, and everyone's acting suspicious. I'm still shaking as I type this, so forgive me if this sounds scattered. This all started last week, and honestly, I still can't wrap my head around it. I live in a small suburban neighborhood where everyone thinks they know everyone. On Tuesday evening, I came home from work to find police tape outside my neighbor's house. I didn't know what happened at first, but then I heard a few officers talking about a homicide. My neighbor, Mr. Andrews, was found dead in his living room. Cause of death: blunt force trauma. He lived alone, so nobody really knew much about his life. The weird part? Everyone in the neighborhood suddenly acted off. People who were always friendly avoided eye contact. Others whispered in corners, glancing at me nervously as I walked by. I went to the police station the next morning, just to see if they needed any statements from neighbors. The detective in charge, a woman named Detective Larkin, seemed sharp and a little impatient, but she allowed me to give my account of the evening. I told her I hadn't heard or seen anything unusual when I came home. But as I talked, I started remembering little oddities from previous days. Mr. Andrews arguing with someone outside, a strange car parked across the street for hours, and that weird neighbor who always came around just to borrow sugar, but seemed to linger too long. Detective Larkin thanked me and said she'd be in touch if she needed more info. But something didn't sit right. I went back home and noticed my mail was gone, and I live alone. The next day, one of my neighbors, Karen, cornered me while walking her dog. She whispered urgently that she thought the murderer was still in the neighborhood and that someone might have been watching us all. Her eyes darted everywhere. I tried to calm her, but she stormed off, muttering about secrets no one should uncover. That night, I heard noises outside my window. Footsteps, low voices, then a soft knock. I peeked through the blinds and saw nothing, just my quiet street, empty and calm. The next morning, Detective Larkin called. She said they had a suspect, someone who had a long-standing feud with Mr. Andrews, but she warned me that nothing was confirmed. She asked me to stay observant and report anything unusual. That's when things got weirder. I found a notebook on my porch. It wasn't mine. Inside were notes about everyone on the street, times they left their houses, habits, who they were friends with, and comments about Mr. Andrews. Some of the notes even seemed like they were written recently, in a handwriting I didn't recognize. I didn't know what to do. Part of me wanted to burn it. Part of me knew it was evidence. I decided to leave it on my kitchen table and call Detective Larkin. She told me to keep it safe and promised someone would come by. 2 days later, another neighbor, George, vanished. He didn't show up for work, and his house was locked. No sign of him anywhere. Everyone in the neighborhood was acting even stranger. Doors locked, curtains drawn. I kept the notebook close, poring over the notes. That's when I realized something chilling. Some entries predicted events that had already happened, including Mr. Andrews' death. It was like someone had been watching the neighborhood closely for weeks, maybe months. Detective Larkin eventually came by to collect the notebook. She looked grim, almost as if she already suspected what I was thinking. She assured me they were investigating, but I could tell she was worried. A week later, the police arrested the stranger who had been living in the abandoned house at the end of the street. They had no ties to the neighborhood officially, but all the evidence in the notebook matched up with their behavior. It was clear they had been spying, planning, and waiting for the right moment. The neighborhood slowly returned to normal after that. People were more cautious, more quiet, and my unease hasn't fully left me. I still think about Mr. Andrews, the notes, and how close the danger was to everyone around me. I don't know if I'll ever feel fully safe again. But one thing is certain. Sometimes, the people you least suspect, even someone who doesn't officially belong, can be watching everything you do. Update. I thought the stranger was the killer, but I just found out I was wrong. I can't believe I'm writing this. Just when I thought the nightmare was over, everything I believed about Mr. Andrews' murder turned upside down. The police arrested the stranger at the abandoned house at the end of the street last week. They had evidence linking them to the neighborhood, the notebook, and suspicious behavior. Everyone, including me, breathed a sigh of relief. The danger seemed gone. But yesterday, Detective Larkin called me unexpectedly. She sounded serious, even tense. She said something I wasn't expecting. The person in custody may not be the actual killer. I froze. My stomach dropped. How could that be? The notebook, the spying, the predictions. It all pointed to the stranger. Apparently, forensic evidence from Mr. Andrews' house didn't match the stranger. Footprints, fingerprints, and even a partial surveillance review suggested someone else had been inside the house the night he died. And then she said it. We believe the killer is someone much closer than anyone realized. Someone who's been living right in the neighborhood this whole time. I couldn't breathe. Someone here, among us, my neighbors, the people I've seen every day, could be involved. The police started interviewing everyone again, revisiting statements, timelines, and alibis. That's when I noticed something that had bothered me before, but I ignored: George's disappearance. He was the neighbor who vanished a week after Mr. Andrews died. George's house was empty, his belongings untouched, but Detective Larkin revealed that George had connections with both Mr. Andrews and someone else in the neighborhood. She didn't say much, but her tone made it clear. George's disappearance was suspicious, and he might know more than he let on. I went home that night and noticed subtle things I hadn't before. Doors slightly ajar, faint footsteps, whispered conversations just out of hearing. The paranoia returned, stronger than ever. Then, yesterday evening, I got a text from an unknown number. "Stop snooping, you don't know what you're getting into." I stared at my phone. I didn't respond. My heart was racing. Could the killer be watching me too? Detective Larkin reassured me, but I knew better. This wasn't over. The real murderer was still out there, blending in, pretending to be one of us. I keep thinking about Mr. Andrews, the stranger, George, and everyone else. And now, I don't know who I can trust. I don't know when the next twist will hit. But one thing is terrifyingly clear. The person in custody may be innocent, and the true killer has been hiding in plain sight this entire time. Update 2. The police finally told me who they're watching, and I'm terrified. I didn't sleep last night. After I posted my last update, I kept replaying everything in my head. Every interaction, every odd moment I brushed off as just neighborhood weirdness. Now I know I was wrong to ignore it. Detective Larkin came to my house yesterday evening. She didn't call first. She knocked, waited, then knocked again, harder this time. That alone told me this wasn't good news. She sat at my kitchen table, hands folded, and said they were officially treating the case as an internal neighborhood homicide. The stranger was still in custody, but now more as a witness than a suspect. The notebook? It wasn't a murder plan. It was surveillance, and not for the reason we thought. The notebook wasn't the killer's. It was the victim's. Mr. Andrews had been documenting the neighborhood. According to Detective Larkin, he believed someone was stealing from him. Small things at first: mail, tools, packages. He started writing down schedules, habits, who was home and when. The stranger living in the abandoned house had been hired by Andrews to watch the street discreetly. Off the books. Shady, yes, but not illegal enough to justify murder. That's when my stomach dropped, because the notebook wasn't a threat. It was evidence, a name I didn't expect. Detective Larkin told me they were now focusing on George, the neighbor who vanished. Turns out, he hadn't vanished at all. He had skipped town the morning after the murder. Security footage from a gas station 2 counties away caught him buying supplies, with scratches on his hands and a cut above his eyebrow that hadn't been there before. The same injury pattern matched defensive wounds found under Mr. Andrews' fingernails. DNA confirmation is pending. The motive. This is the part that makes me feel sick. George had been stealing from Mr. Andrews for months. Andrews figured it out and threatened to go to the police. There was a confrontation the night of the murder. Neighbors reported hearing raised voices but assumed it was just George being George. According to Detective Larkin, George snapped. One hit, then another. Not premeditated, but violent, panicked, and irreversible. Detective Larkin told me something she probably shouldn't have. George knows I found the notebook, and he knows I talked to police. They believe the text I received, "Stop snooping," came from him, sent while he was still in town. They don't know where he is now. Before she left, she told me to lock my doors, vary my routine, and call immediately if I see anything suspicious. I asked her one question before she walked out. "Do you think he'll come back?" She didn't answer right away. Then she said, "People who run don't always stay gone. I don't feel safe anymore. The street looks normal again. Kids ride bikes, neighbors wave. But now I know how close we all were to someone capable of murder. Someone we trusted. Someone who lived right next door. I'll update again when I know more, if I know more. Right now, I'm just hoping George stays far, far far away. Final update. They caught him. And the truth is worse than I ever imagined. I waited to post this until everything was officially over. I needed to be sure. I needed to know I wasn't putting myself, or anyone else, in danger. George was caught 3 days ago. He was arrested 2 states away at a roadside motel. He'd paid cash, used a fake name, and stayed off social media. What gave him away wasn't technology, it was routine. George stopped for the same brand of cigarettes every morning. A clerk recognized him from a statewide bolo and called it in. When police arrived, he didn't run. According to Detective Larkin, he just sat on the bed and said, "I knew this would catch up to me." Forensics came back the same day. Mr. Andrews' DNA was under George's fingernails. Fibers from George's jacket were embedded in the carpet near the body. A partial shoe print at the scene matched George's boots, the same ones neighbors remembered him wearing constantly. But the final nail in the coffin was something no one expected. George's phone. He had deleted most of his messages, but investigators recovered fragments of a voice memo recorded the night of the murder. His voice was shaky, angry. "I told him to drop it. I told him to stop watching me. He wouldn't listen." Then a loud noise, then silence. George confessed, but not the way you'd expect. He admitted to killing Mr. Andrews, but insisted he never planned to. He said Andrews confronted him, accused him of stealing, and threatened the police. George claimed Andrews lunged at him, but Detective Larkin told me something chilling. The injuries didn't support self-defense. Mr. Andrews was struck from behind, once, then again. The stranger was telling the truth. The person arrested first, the stranger from the abandoned house, was released. He had been paid by Andrews to watch the neighborhood quietly because Andrews felt unsafe. He'd noticed mail going missing, packages disappearing, tools vanishing from his garage. The stranger tried to warn Andrews to go to the police. Andrews didn't want the embarrassment. That decision cost him his life. Why George targeted me? This part took me the longest to process. George admitted he sent the text. He said he panicked when he realized I had found the notebook, the proof Andrews had been collecting. He didn't plan to hurt me, but he did consider scaring me into staying quiet. Detective Larkin didn't sugarcoat it. "That's why you were in danger." Where things stand now, George has been charged with second-degree murder. He's awaiting trial. The neighborhood feels different now, quieter, heavier. People talk in hushed voices. Some are angry. Some are ashamed they defended him so strongly at first. I moved, not far, but far enough to breathe again.